Cars rumble along the four-lane highway that connected the Moraga Valley to Berkeley and Oakland around 1945. This photograph was part of a promotional book to lure the United Nations to Contra Costa County. The UN Site Selection Committee considered Moraga along with San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and about 24 other cities including London, Paris, Moscow, Beijing, and Moraga, yes, Moraga. Text from an article published May 23, 1995 in the San Ramon Valley Times. A proposal hatched by Contra Costa County might have garnered the little cul-de-sac town lots of global headlines over the past 50 years if the UN had ended up there instead of New York City. In the mid-1940s, Moraga's name circulated among the decision-makers who were to select a location for the United Nations. The Contra Costa Development Association drew up the plan to call attention to its little-known site for the world capital. The group presented the proposal in a book, complete with a map and 24 attractive photos of Moraga, Mount Diablo, San Francisco, and Oakland. It was designed to sway members of the Preparatory Commission of the United Nations. The 1945 area photos shown here are from the edition of that book kept at the Contra Costa County History Center in Martinez. Imagine the possibilities. UN Secretary-General Boutros Boutros-Ghali delivers a blistering attack on aggressors on Bosnia and then wanders over to the Reims Center to shop at Petrini's. Nikita Khrushchev pounds his shoe on the lectern before the General Assembly. Then he goes to the barn for a pick-me-up. We'd hardly be a town at the end of a cul-de-sac, said Moraga Mayor James Sweeney. We would probably have a population of 50,000 with lots of high-end apartments and lots of security. We would have had all kinds of transportation come here. The trains would have been kept, and I'm sure there would have been freeways. The weather was one of many selling points Moraga promoters praised in the 50-year-old proposal. Proponents included Contra Costa's supervisors, 2 state senators, a congressman, and Representative George Miller of Oakland. Maggie Skinner, archivist for the Moraga Historical Society, said just 20 copies of the proposal were made, and most of them went to leaders of the UN organization effort. The St. Mary's College Rare Book Collection has 1 copy. In 1945, Iona Booth, executive director of the County Association, had the task of promoting the plan. She sent copies to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin, and Chinese leader Chiang Kai-shek. When Roosevelt's successor, President Truman, opened the UN Charter Conference in San Francisco, he had the Moraga proposal among his documents, according to newspaper reports. In 1946 and 1947, the UN Site Selection Committee considered Moraga among San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and about 24 other cities. Moraga's plan may have received serious consideration. During a visit to Moraga Valley, one UN official commented, "If the United Nations headquarters became permanent in such a peaceful setting, surely most controversial world affairs could not help but be settled peacefully." At the time, locals say, pear and walnut orchards, tomato crops, and grazing cattle were the area's distinctive features. Outside of St. Mary's College, about 200 people lived in farmhouses in the valley, estimates Brother Dennis Goodman, a retired college Christian brother and longtime Moraga historian. The bid for the United Nations was probably a publicity gimmick to promote development. Landowners had for years failed to attract people and were still having trouble after World War II. This place was almost as it had been after the Civil War. Most of the property belonged to the Moraga Company, and it could have been quite lucrative for developers. The proposal called for an international airport and offered hundreds of square miles of space to create a special state or district for the UN headquarters. It would have been centered, according to Goodman, in Burton Valley, located largely in today's Lafayette. But distance conspired against the West Coast. The Moraga plan states that flying time to the Bay Area was 9 hours from Washington, D.C., 19 hours from Moscow, 21 from London, 45 from Singapore, 25 from Buenos Aires, and 27 from Shanghai. The big hang-up for California was the travel time to Europe and other countries. The first General Assembly was held in London, and during that meeting the decision was made that the headquarters would be located in the United States. John Rockefeller then offered $8.5 million to purchase 18 acres of land in Manhattan, and the General Assembly quickly accepted. Moraga remained a quiet little valley. And perhaps that was best, and I for one can't imagine it being any other way. Many thanks to the Contra Costa County Historical Society for access to their copy of the UN Moraga Proposal Book and the articles published in 1990 and 1995 from which most of the text was sourced. Additional photos and text from the producer Mark Harrigan and Google. Thank you for watching.